Hey, welcome back to another episode of Wholesaling the Cool Way with Jasper Cool and Mark Cool. Um, we both have wholesaling businesses here well, Jasper's in Arizona, but we both work in the North Carolina market. And Jasper does primarily wholesaling of houses, and I do primarily land with some houses and some subject to and owner financing mixed in there. But this is a weekly mastermind that Jasper and I started just to support each other to grow our businesses, and now we're doing it as a podcast. Hopefully we can help some other people grow their businesses and change their lifestyle. So, hey, Jasper, normally we start off with inspiration, education, that kind of stuff. You got anything this week that you've been checking out? Or I know you went and saw an art show this week. That looked pretty inspiring from the photos you sent me. And feel like jumping in and sharing about what you've been inspired by this week?
Yeah, definitely. One thing I really liked this week was a podcast with Steve Trang and this dude called Ben Toaf. I'm not sure how to say his last name,
I
but
haven't listened to Chang in a while.
yeah, but that one was really good. He's crushing it in wholesaling. He's in Florida, but they wholesale all over the country. And they'll do 5 million this year, and his goal is 10 million next year. And so
Wow.
that was inspiring for me because that's one of the probably the biggest wholesaling like business that Steve's had on there besides New Western. He had the New Western guy on there. So
Oh, dude.
that's obviously much bigger. But yeah, I really enjoyed that one. That guy had a bunch of good advice and just on hiring people and growing a sales team and stuff like that. So I really like that one. And then I listened to another interview this week with Dan Martell and Ed Milet. Those are two guys that I really like, and so it was cool to listen to their conversation. And yeah, I really enjoyed that one. And then I think there's one more too.
I haven't listened to my let in a long time either.
Yeah, me neither, but I saw that one, and I've been listening to a lot of Dan Martell and reading him, so thought that was perfect timing. But there was those two, and then I started this new book that I really like so far. Let me get the name of this. It's called Dream First, Details Later. So I like that book. Yeah, this by this woman who started Apron Company, and I think it's one of the biggest ones in the world now. And it's just going through her story. I'm a few chapters in now, but I really like that one so far. It's a very easy read, and it's got like pictures in there and stuff, and it's just like her story on how she got started in the business and eventually grew it really big. So that's pretty cool. But again, I'm kind of at the beginning of that one, but I would recommend that to anyone. I'm liking that a lot so far. So yeah, there's that, and then I guess that's about it. Yeah,
Nice.
yeah.
You want to talk about the Tom Cole thing at all? Or you want to save that for another time?
Uh, yeah, I'll just save it for next time when I have more to share.
Yeah, sounds good. I know it's a
Yeah,
new thing for you.
yeah,
And also you sent me some really cool pictures of the metal art from the botanical gardens there in
yeah, that was
Arizona.
beautiful.
Those are in Scottsdale, right?
Hmm.
Yeah. Yeah,
Very
that's pretty
cool.
amazing. I can see the one you sent has like the red light on the ground, the patterns around the ground. It's really cool.
Hmm.
Yeah. Um, cool. Well, thanks for checking in, Sharon. I often check out the stuff that you say you've been listening to because sometimes I'll forget about things like, oh, I haven't listened to Trang in a while, or
Yeah,
my life or whatever. So then when you share stuff, it's always good for me. So then I'll often go in and check out those same things. Just like
yeah,
I'll check in about. I'm still reading "Buy Back Your Time" with Dan Martell, so that's been really good to continue to read that and read about. I guess the most recent section I've been reading is about the assassins of your time. I think he calls them the traps that entrepreneurs fall into that keep us from being productive or really working in our sweet spot. Like, and I was sharing
hmm,
with you earlier, Jasper. One of the traps is like I'm the only one who can do it right, and going back and micromanaging instead of letting people manage and empowering people.
yeah,
But that's a great book. Buy Back Your Time. I'd recommend that. We've talked about it the last couple episodes. And then I finished the audiobook of Malcolm Gladwell, The Revenge of the Tipping Point, which was good. It's just really in-depth stuff about epidemics and how things spread. And, it's like metaphorical to a lot of different things. It can be business or personal stuff or social trends or anything, but just he's got a lot of interesting stories that he interweaves to show how things get started and how they spread and what the
Hmm.
factors are in things spreading. One interesting takeaway that I had from it was this magic third thing that I hadn't heard about before, but it's like if there's a minority in a setting, uh, that minority generally does not feel safe to be themselves unless they are part of 25 to 33% of the population of that group, whatever it is. Like if you're a African American student in an all white school, you're going to probably feel very alone and very not willing to open up. But if you had 30%, of your people in that setting, then you would feel like empowered to be yourself. They're talking about it like in terms of females on boards of corporations, right? If there's one female, she's kind of be like the token female and be, looked at as the female or a female. But when there's three females on a board of 10, then they're just another board member and their contribution is more welcome or more um, just a natural part of the flow of things, and they're not perceived as that outsider or that other. And it works both ways. Like the person feels other or outsider if they're in the minority, or the people who are in the majorities perceive them that way, and then they become not themselves or not honored for their contribution, but just that person. Like they gave an example of the first woman who was like the first woman who was a CEO of a big company, and she was, I think, her family was from Panama, so she was, a dark-skinned woman, also from another country originally, and grew up poor, but she made her way all the way to the top. But people would always talk to like, wow, she's really brilliant, or she's really, they had to make her into something more than just a person who had the intelligence and the skills to do the thing, because they couldn't reconcile it otherwise. Like all these white guys, and then this one woman who rose into the ranks, she had to be special or unique or, unusually good at math or this or that, right? Because they had to rationalize it instead of just. But if there, then once more women broke through it, then it was like, oh, now that there are 3 or 4 women on a board, then they're just people. So interesting dynamic, and it plays out everywhere. And it's funny because like my team right now, we're very top heavy with men, and I've been saying the next people we hire, we have to have women, so it balances out. Because
Hmm.
like we have currently one full-time woman on our team, and she's great, and she says she's happy and fine with the balance, but like I want her to feel like she's not the only woman on the team. I've had this inclination to want to do that, but then it's funny that was articulated. He
Hmm.
talks about this really cool thing. They did this experiment, or not experiment, but like a model neighborhood in up in Silicon Valley, but it was set up in like the 50s, and people were aware of this dynamic back then, like in the 50s or 60s. And there was this whole thing called white flight, when the population of black people in a neighborhood reached a certain percentage, all the white people would move out, and then the neighborhood would become completely black. And it was like that 30% ratio. When it got beyond 30%, all the white people were like, that's too many black people, I'm moving. And so they
Wow.
they engineered this neighborhood, and they set bylaws that said it was going to be black, Asian, and white, and it couldn't be more than 30% of each one or something like that. They engineered the whole thing to work with this principle, and it turned out to be this really harmonious neighborhood, and everybody helped everybody, and it was just like a great neighborhood because they actually managed that and didn't allow the white flight to happen or any of the other dynamics that could become toxic. And then they got to this point where there was an empty lot, and a black family wanted to buy the lot and move in, and the people on the board had to deny them to keep the balance. And it was like some of the people on the board are black people, obviously, but they had to keep the balance to keep it right. It just
Wow.
really interesting stuff. Yeah. So anyway, the magic third. I just went on a long tangent about it, but it's a very interesting uh, piece of social science that I wasn't even aware of.
That's cool.
Out in a lot of places. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that really has nothing to do with real estate. That's a real estate podcast, but
That's
uh,
okay.
hopefully it brings value
Yeah.
or interest to people. But I think that's, I've talked long enough. I really like Malcolm Gladwell and the way he thinks about things and presents them and makes me think. So that's why I was
Hmm.
on a tangent with it. But yeah, so that's all I've got for that. And then should we do some business check-in? Just check in about what's going on in business and close deals and contracts and solds and KPIs and all that stuff.
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, why don't you kick it off, Jasper?
All right. So I guess I'll just do the KPIs first. So for this week, we actually I gotta update. This wasn't updated, but we closed one deal, we sold one deal, got 3 contracts. We also got a 5-star review from our closing, which is awesome.
Nice.
And then we got a big price reduction for another deal that we have in a contract. So hopefully we'll sell that one next week. So
That's awesome.
yeah, so it was a great week for us. And let me see. I didn't check this myself. I wanted to check this to stay accountable. So now we're up to 41 Google reviews, although they're not all 5 stars. So I believe I'm at 38. So I'm almost there, 12 more to go. And
That's
I've got
great.
about 2 months to get there. So we'll see. We'll see, but I'm hoping for it. So yeah, but that was pretty much the KPIs for the week. And then as far as leads and everything, it was a great week for leads. We were still above our weekly average, about 170 leads this week, which is higher than normal for us. So that list that I mentioned on the last podcast is still working very well for us from Skipify. So if anyone's interested in trying that out, I would still recommend it. And we're kind of pushing more leads through the process as well, and noticing that more are interested as well, not just number of leads, but seem like good quality leads too. So that's good.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, and then been very happy with Josh this week. He's been crushing it and doing stuff that I didn't even ask him to do, as well as like still staying on top of the other priorities. So that's been great for me. And he put together like a new KPI sheet for us basically. And like our team submits all their reports through Podio, but then he pulls that data out and puts it into this spreadsheet. And super cool, this new spreadsheet he made. It was much better than the last one. And so now like we update the spreadsheet, and then it either turns yellow, green, or red based on the numbers that are inputted. So we can see immediately like what numbers certain team members are not hitting or they are hitting, and then we can adjust and go from there. So that's been awesome. I'm glad
That's
that he
great.
yeah, I'm glad that he did that, and he did that totally on his own without me asking. So that was awesome. And we also have a new acquisition who started Friday, and so
Sweet.
we will see how that goes. I'm excited about that. And then I also am going to try for next week, because we're having one of our acquisition is going to be out next week. So I'm going to move up one of my follow-up dudes to acquisitions and see how that goes. So we've been, doing some training this week, and he's been with me for a while, and he's great at follow-up specialist. So I think he's going to do well, but we'll see. So after
That's great.
next
That's
week,
exciting.
yeah, so after next week, I'll either, promote him full-time to acquisition, which would be great. Or, if things don't go well, then I might just continue him maybe on a 2, 3, 4 week trial period rather than just 1 week, because it's not that much time. And see if he can improve. And if not, I'll probably still keep him on as follow specialist, because he's great at that. But I just wanted to give him kind of a tryout or an opportunity to increase his role. And if he's successful, obviously I'll give him a raise and more bonuses and all that stuff. So I'm hoping it's going to work out. But excited about that.
Yeah, very
Um,
cool. It's always nice to promote from within.
yeah, definitely. And then otherwise, I listed that property that I bought on the MLS this week, and we got one offer in so far. A couple other people that said they're going to submit offers, and I think it was listed Wednesday or Thursday, so pretty good traction so far.
That's great.
So yeah, hopefully that one will sell pretty quickly, and then we can get our money back out of that one. But I think it will. Seems like a pretty good deal. Uh, And worst case, I guess I could always sell on owner finance or refinance or something. So it's not really the end of the world if it doesn't sell, because it's in pretty good shape. So I'm much happier with this purchase than my last one. My last one was not like a property I would have, been willing to keep or wanted to keep. And in this case, it's like I have all these different exit strategies. So it's
Yeah,
much less stressful. And
always
it's
nice.
not, yeah, it's not really like a big deal. I do want to sell it, just to recoup the money, but I can also, like I said, refinance, owner finance, lease option, and any number of things I could do. So yeah, so that's good. And What else we got? I think that's about it. I know I have another thing I wanted to share with you, but now I'm blanking on it, of course.
You can always jump back in.
But I guess I could check in, just give quick updates on some of the recent changes that I made. So Slack has still been awesome for us. So anyone who's listening, definitely will recommend that for communicating with your team if you have a team. ClickSend has been really good for us still in terms of texting buyers. And we just basically split our list into a few different segments. So we kind of just drip them out. We send 3 blasts for each deal essentially. But that's working really well. We're getting a lot of responses from the buyers, and obviously, they're not all offers, but we're at least getting a lot of activity, which we just totally weren't getting from email all of a sudden. Specifically, like this year, last year, email was working great for me. I think it's this year partly because Investor Lift is making a bunch of people just not look at their email, but also I think just a lot of buyers are kind of on pause right now. They're just waiting to see what's going to happen with election, with interest rates, and all this stuff. So I've just noticed that it's been a drop off, but the ClickSend thing is like those same buyers are opening and responding to our text. So I'd recommend that for anyone, and especially if you have a smaller buyers list, it's definitely affordable. I was kind of complaining about the cost because we're sending out to a few thousand, but if you just have a couple hundred, it's not going to cost you much at all, and I think it's a better channel than email. So I definitely recommend that.
Yeah.
And then I did find one other tool that I wanted to share. It's called Poe, Poe. And what it does is it basically is a website that kind of combines all of the AI tools into one, and it's free. And so you can go on here, and rather than just using ChatGPT, for example, you go on here and you do the same prompting, and it's going to pull responses from GPT, from Google's AI, from all the different AIs that everyone's built,
Oh,
and
nice.
it's gonna basically like combine them all into like one website. So that's cool, and you can like not just like ChatGPT is mainly just prompting and responding, but this one also is bringing in the image generating AI, so you can generate images with it and a few other things too. So yeah, I've just been exploring that this week. I just learned about it, but that's something that I want to definitely challenge myself to do is use more AI. And so, I've got ChatGPT and Poe right there in my bookmarks, like in the middle, so I can remember to use them every day. And I download ChatGPT to my computer too. So yeah, but it's very powerful. I've been using it more and more, and it's super helpful. Whether you're just trying to like send an email and you don't want to type it out, or you're trying to come up with a response or a social media post, or all a variety of things it can help you out
For
with.
hiring, for job descriptions for
Yeah,
hiring.
job descriptions. It can help you come
Using
up with legal documents and stuff like that too. So it's
yeah,
really cool.
personality test reviews. Like you can,
Yeah,
I've done it for hiring with like, hey, this person has this disc profile. Would they be good? Or what job would they be good for? Put the description of the job, what disc profile, that kind of thing.
yeah.
Yeah. So many ways you can use it.
And even like I learned this week, one of the things with it is like if you're not prompting it correctly, it's kind of not going to give you what you want. And so one of the things I realized is like you can ask it, you can kind of try to reverse engineer, and you could be like, okay, I want this result. Like what prompts, how can I give you better prompts to give me what I'm trying to get? And then it can actually like help you with that. So that's kind of cool too.
Yeah, it is.
So yeah, but I guess that's it for me. I'm glad I remember that though. That Poe website is pretty cool.
Yeah, that sounds great.
Yeah.
I've been using Chat GBT more, but I'll check that out. I haven't ever tried that.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, thanks for checking in. Um,
Yeah.
Good to hear that things are going well.
Oh, yeah.
I guess for me, business, a big milestone this week was we got our taxes done. We had an extension for our corporate taxes, so that's finally filed this week, and that was a relief to have that done. Grateful that that's off my plate. There's still some work to be done for the 2024 taxes of like going into QuickBooks and categorizing things correctly and figuring out why our profit and loss is not where it seems like it should be.
Mhm.
Seems like heavy on the expenses side, so I have to figure out if there are double entries, which I don't want to do any of that stuff. Like I'm not, uh, I
Yeah.
don't enjoy bookkeeping, but some of the things at this stage I still have to intercede on and educate people so that I don't have to do it in the future. So I think that's one of my big themes this week as a manager, owner of the business is just like I was saying to Jasper before we got on the recording part is just like I've been making Loom videos on every last thing I do that I don't enjoy doing. So every time I do something, I'm just making a video like, this is how you do this is how you do that, and putting it in our SOPs so that the next time that has to be done, I can ask someone else to do it, and the videos there. So I would encourage anybody, even if you're just starting out, like I was doing this stuff when I was a solopreneur, when I first started doing it, because I'd heard on podcasts or in books, like document everything. So I'm doing it better now than I was in the beginning. But even in the beginning, I was creating Google Documents and stuff for a lot of the processes so that once I was able to hire people, I didn't have to reinvent the wheel and explain everything that had to be done. And then when I
Right.
hired my first person as an admin assistant, that was one of the first things I had her do, was to document a lot of processes. So I encourage you, whatever level of you're at in your business, to document everything, because it's a way to give yourself more freedom to do the things that bring more value to the business, and to eventually step away from the business if that's your goal, or to work fewer hours. So yeah, that's been a big thing for me this week. And then I was telling Jasper, well, maybe should I save that story for later? I'll do the KPIs first. We had a crazy story go on in our business. So I'll check in about that. I don't even know if I can articulate it clearly, but I'll try. Uh, as far as our business, we had a little bit of a slow week. I was just looking at our KPIs. We're 39 leads, and we restarted with our cold callers, so we should have more than that. So I'm gonna have to check on that on Monday. That's a low lead total for us. We've been more in the 50 to 60 range. And then with 21 offers is also low for us. We've been up over 30. So I'm going to have to check on both these things on Monday. We did get one contract this week, which is nice. The other nice thing about that is we brought in a new acquisitions person last week. And so that was his first contract, his first signed contract. So that was a victory.
Nice.
And I was joking with him we did a 2-week review, and I was like, okay, well, next week we expect 10, so,
Yeah.
but he's working out well. So that's a win too. He's a good guy, and he's also bilingual in Spanish, and he was able to help this week with a buyer of ours who's primarily Spanish speaker, and just really help with the communication there. So I appreciate that.
That's great.
Yeah. And then we sold one, which was also a victory, because it was one where a buyer canceled on us, and then we put it back into our system, and then we sold it again. So that was a victory. And
Nice.
we didn't close any this week. We had 2 scheduled to close, and both got pushed again. So the 2 that were supposed to close this week were also supposed to close last week. So hopefully they actually close this coming week. And that's 2 deals that have been ready to go pretty much. But this
Yeah.
week, one of them, the seller who really wants to be in person at the closing, all of a sudden dropped a bomb on us that he was having surgery on Friday, which was the closing date, and he wouldn't be able to close until next Monday. And it's like, okay, why didn't you tell us you were having surgery a long time ago? It's like he just
Yeah.
scheduled surgery all of a sudden.
That's
So
weird.
emergency dental, I don't know what it is, but so that got pushed, and then I can't remember why the other one got pushed, but they both got pushed. So we should be closing to, I think the buyer was going on vacation and wanted to push it till the next week. So no closings. And I think we have 5 in escrow right now, and I believe 2 are closing next week, but it might even be 3 at this point, because these have been pushed so far
Nice.
off. Let me see. I can look on my Podio home screen right now. We have 5. Yeah, that one's closing. No, it should just be 2 next week, but then we have 1 the following week, and then 2 more on the back burner.
That's good.
Yeah. Hey, at least we have deals in escrow, right? That's a good thing.
Yeah.
And we have a lot to sell still. We've got 4 or 5 to sell. So our inventory is actually a little bit low. We did get our delivery rate back up in SMS on smarter contacts. That's good. We actually ended up switching some templates out, and that helped our delivery rate. So I guess maybe our templates were getting old, or whatever. It just worked. So I'm grateful for that, because our delivery rate had dropped quite a bit. SMS campaigns, but we were on target for our normal SMS. We're normally sending like 15 to 20,000 per week, and we sent 17,000 this week, so that's good.
Yeah.
And then we got a new subject to verbal this week also. which is really cool because my acquisitions lead person did the whole thing and just handed me the buyer with all the numbers, and the buyer was already, I mean, the seller, sorry, the seller was already prepared and everything. So in the past, I've been the sub two guy, and I'm the one they just give the leads to, and then I talk the person through and do all the negotiation and everything. She had made this guy an offer and negotiated the price, gotten the mortgage statement from him that we need for a sub two, given him the document that I created, which we just talked about subject to for sellers. And so he understood when he got on the phone with me what subject to was about. And he was ready to go pretty much. I just double checked all the, the four pillars, and asked him why he wouldn't just go with a real estate agent, and just dug in a little bit more on his motivation and his timeline and all that stuff. But he's a good guy, military guy, and he's just tired of dealing with his house. He got a little bit behind on payments because he had some bad tenants, and he's ready to just take some cash out of it and sell it to a subject to. So that was a
Sweet.
victory. The big victory is, like I said, my acquisitions person just sent me a link to a document she had created with all the numbers, like the loan balance and the arrears and the amount the seller wanted and everything else. And I just was able to review that and call the guy up, and I told him we'd send him the paperwork over on Monday because it was late Friday once I finally talked to him. But that's I count that as a victory on two levels, like a new deal plus one of the people on my team really stepping up and owning the subject to thing.
Mm-hmm.
So that was great. And we do have, for anybody who's interested in subject to, I currently have 3 subject twos in the works. So we have, well, actually one that we sold owner financing. So now that's basically an owner finance deal, but it's a subject to that we owner financed. And then we have 2 of those that we bought owner subject to, and we're selling owner financing and making money. We have a third one that's still vacant that we're in the process of getting sold. And then this would be our 4th one once we
Nice.
lock this down. Yeah. That we have going on, currently. We've had other ones that we've closed and stuff. But
That's awesome.
yeah, I think that's all I've got for the business. I can tell a little bit about the crazy story. I was going to mention, Jasper, you and I talked about this BOIR. If anybody doesn't know about this, you do have to file this report with the Financial Crimes Center. It's a federal regulation now. If you don't file it and you have an LLC, you can get penalties that are really steep. They're crazy. So I don't have it in front of me, but it's something crazy, like $500 a day or something if you don't file it. So you just have to just Google like file BOIR, and then don't go to the sponsored links because they'll charge you money to file it for you. Just go to the first non-sponsored one and you go in there and just walk through a questionnaire and upload a copy of your license and some basic things, and then you'll be covered. It doesn't
Yeah.
cost money, and it takes 15 minutes maybe, but it's got to be done. So just wanted to mention that as a heads up if anybody's not aware of it. And I think the website's like FINCEN.com, Financial
Mm-hmm.
Crimes
Yeah.
Enforcement Network, Financial Crimes Enforcement Network, FINCEN.com. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you file it there. Um, so then, as far as uh, this other story, it's a really weird one. I don't know if there's even any lesson in it right now, other than, be really clear about the properties that you're dealing with. But I got a call yesterday from my brother who manages dispositions, and he said, we've got a situation here. And I was like, what's up? And we had sent this woman who works for us over to a house we had under contract to do an open house because we had multiple buyers who wanted to see it on Saturday. And she showed up there, and some guy came out and told her he owned the house and we didn't have any right to sell it or show it. And he was very angry. And so he got on the phone with my brother, and my brother tried to talk him down, and he just was angry and belligerent. And so my brother got on the phone with a woman who was going to do the open house for us and said, just get out of there. We'll deal with this later. And as she was trying to leave, a woman pulled in behind her and blocked her in. And then she says, pulled her out of her car. And they called the cops to come and, you know, take her away, I guess. And so the cops came, and, my brother was on the phone back and forth with the woman who was working for us, and they ended up taking her in. And I don't understand why, because she wasn't in the house or anything. She hadn't done anything wrong technically, but the guy was accusing us or our company of stealing stuff out of the house. He'd had stuff stolen out of the house. We had gone in and taken photos and put a lockbox on, and the punchline of this is that we had the wrong house, and it's crazy, and it seems like we're really stupid to have like set all this stuff up on the wrong house, but it turns out that the public record was wrong, and they somehow indexed our seller's name with this house that we were at. So when we were searching to try and like set up the guy to do the lockbox and everything, this house kept coming up. When we'd punch in the property address we had under contract and the woman's name, this house would come up and this parcel would come up. And so the guys in disposition were confused, and I believe they called the county and they called the planner, and they kept getting the same answer, that there was the correct parcel. So they ended up setting it up for this parcel, and we were in this huge mess now. And I talked to the seller the same day when the cops were there and everything, and she was like, "Yeah, the cops called me and they said, you know, what's up with your house, or what are you going to do about this house?" And she was like, "I don't own that house. I own the one down the block." So just a crazy, crazy story. And this woman who works for us ended up getting released after a few hours, but we didn't hear about that until till 9 o'clock. She got released at 6 o'clock, and she didn't think to let us know, or decide to let us know, until 3.5 hours later, which was kind of scary for us, because we were like, what if we're in trouble? I guess they also got mad because we had posted this on Facebook groups as an opportunity, and that's how we'd gotten the buyers interested, or one or two of the buyers interested to go down there. So I guess we expose ourselves to liability for trying to do some kind of fraud on the internet, which we weren't trying to do, but we had the wrong property. And the only thing I can think to learn is to just be really clear about the property address. But I've been doing this for 4 years. Jasper's been doing it for 5 years, and neither of us has ever run across this before. It's not that hard to figure out which property you have and go to the right property. But in this case, it appears the public records were wrong. And my brother Derek said he checked PropStream, Landglide, GIS, and all of them pointed him to the same house. And so it's not like we weren't doing our due diligence, but we still missed it. So I don't think it's going to happen to people that often, but it's just something to be aware of, that sometimes the county makes mistakes, indexes properties to the wrong seller, indexes the wrong APN to the seller or deed or whatever it is. I have to dig in and try and figure out what exactly happened here, and how this chain got so screwed up. But
Yeah,
that's the crazy story.
it's
And so
insane.
we still don't know what's going to happen with the woman who was working for us. Like they were saying, there still might be charges filed against her, and hopefully nothing's going to come back on us, but it could, and we'll see. But we'll try and get a copy of the police report and see what they're saying about it, and go from there, and then try and unravel this situation and figure out. Pardon me, I've been talking too much. Figure out how we got into this mess in the first place, and that's my story.
Yeah, it's crazy, scary, insane.
Yeah, very weird, very, very weird.
Yeah, I'm glad everyone's okay though.
Yeah, I mean, I just feel really bad for this woman that she got taken in. It's like, what the heck, she didn't do
Yeah,
anything wrong. And if she's telling the truth, like some crazy woman, like she said, almost T-boned her car in the text she sent to Derek, and then pulled her out of her car. Like that's insane. And she could press charges for the woman, trying to pull her out of her car. But I don't think she
hmm,
even was thinking about that. Like this woman put hands on me. So, but hopefully we unravel it in a good
yeah,
way this week and
hopefully.
resolve it. And we got to get to work on selling the other property, which the woman says also people have been stealing stuff out of. And she thought we put a lockbox on there this week, so she thought the stealing was going to stop, and we put the lockbox in the wrong house. So there's
Gosh, it's
another
crazy.
telling over there. And that, I guess one of the morals of the story too is like, how much do I want to work in neighborhoods like this where people are stealing stuff out of houses, and
Yeah,
calling the cops on each other, and like dragging each other out of cars and creating drama? Like, maybe that's
yeah,
just, maybe we need to research the crime stats and the income levels and stuff like that in neighborhoods, and maybe say no to some of these houses.
definitely. Yeah.
That's one thought I had. All right. You got anything else before we wrap it up, Jasper?
Uh, I think I actually did have one more thing I want to share. which
Okay.
was Alex Hormozy does these weekly emails. If anyone hasn't signed up, I would recommend his email. It's just like a quick email. I think he does it on Mondays and Fridays. It's just like a short little email. But anyways, wanted to share the one from this week, which was I guess I'll just share his words. So he says, my marketing department felt slow. So without them knowing, I implemented double weeks. Basically, instead of having a weekly meeting, I have 2 or more meetings every week. With this gives me 2 deadlines or more to drive things towards. At the end of every meeting, I recap the items, assign them out, and then I ask what stopped you from getting this done by the end of the day today. Often it's nothing. And this still gives me 2 days to troubleshoot before the next weekly meeting where I repeat it again. If my team gets 2 weeks done every week, we'll move faster than a team that only gets one. And so he says, consider using these double weeks, is what he called it, in a department that feels slow. So, for example, if acquisitions are not pulling their weight in contracts and stuff, maybe just increase the frequency of your check-ins and your meetings. And that's what he recommends. And that makes sense. So I want to share that.
Yeah, that's a good tip.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm
But
not on that list. I'm
yeah, I
not
would
that.
definitely sign up. It's just like I think it's Mondays and Fridays. He sends out a quick email. It's literally that short, and then they're usually helpful. So
Yeah,
yeah,
that's great. Yeah, he
yeah,
was saying his email list drives a lot of traffic to his website too.
yeah, it's good stuff. So yeah. Oh,
Well, you were saying that I was just before you checked in with that, I was pulling up James Clear to see if there's anything to end with. I'll just read this one short one and then we'll wrap. Being kind to others is mostly about your actions. Being kind to yourself is mostly about your thoughts.
yeah, I like that.
Yeah. And that ends another week of wholesaling the cool way. Hope you all enjoyed the episode. Please leave us comments, feedback. Tell us what you want to hear more of. You know, any comments and feedback are welcome. We're trying to tailor this so that it serves people as best we can.
Yeah.
And have a great week.